That's fine. You need to finish. We can delay.
Ask not for whom the bell tolls.
Oh, it's almost time. Wow, showtime.
Good morning, everyone. We'll call the November 8th Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please join us for the pledge and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item, open forum. Is there anybody here to speak towards something not on the agenda? Seeing none. Review and approval of the October 25th board meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Review and approve today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, we're going to add an item, and you can put it, I think, probably just makes sense to add item, say, 7 for the county engineer to talk about a letter of support for the 371 Highway 210 BNSF Railroad, that intersection, and trying to get federal funds to help to improve that intersection.
Did you say 7? Item where?
I was thinking after land services.
Okay.
Motion to approve with change.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we are at the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Barrows. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Land services.
This would be an interesting.
All right. Well, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Item we have this morning is a citizen's petition for an environmental assessment worksheet. I think it might be good to have packet page 47 up on the screen for this one. But we received a citizen's petition requesting the preparation of an environmental assessment worksheet, an EAW, for a proposed alternative access lot that was submitted by Severson Porter Law and Mark Severson on behalf of their petitioners on October 12th. It had 233 signatures. The petition was verified by the Environmental Quality Board, or EQB, and it has been assigned to Crow Wing County Land Services on October 14th. This alternative access lot, I'm sure you're familiar with, has been one that we've been kind of dealing with since February, March. It's an existing lot of record, about 12.5 acres in size. It's riparian and includes over 625 feet of shoreline, located on Big Trout Lake. You can see it up on the screen, highlighted in red. This is a general development classified lake in Timothy Township. The developer, Jethro and Nicole Carpenter, is proposing to create an alternative access lot to consolidate riparian access via a centralized boardwalk involving up to 6 lots total. That application was submitted in February with a 60-day waiver signed by the applicant on March. In addition to a decision on the alternative access lot, it was tabled for a later decision by the Planning Commission. It was also suspended by the Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners because they, of course, as you know, enacted a moratorium, an interim ordinance on controlled access lots and boardwalks in the shore impact zone, and alternative access lots on April 12th. And so that moratorium is still in effect and will be in effect until next April 12th, 2023. However, the application is still technically submitted to our office and is hanging out, so because there has been no government decision, this proposal is still a submitted application subject to a petition for an EAW. Packet page 49 has the last survey that we had for this particular project. So you can kind of see, I don't have my pointer up here, but there's a, here, I'll grab it. This is the proposed dock with the mooring slips and the lots, and then you have an access and then the boardwalk emanating from that. So at this time, staff has prepared findings for this potential EAW, and staff is recommending to deny the petitioner's request for an EAW with the findings of fact that we provided in the packet. There were over 700 pages of materials that were submitted, and so you saw that your board packet did not include 700 pages. We instead included a link to the website, but rest assured, we provided all the information to the county board to make an informed decision on this one. So with that, I can take any questions. Otherwise, we'll look for that motion. Thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, there is no required public hearing as part of this, but I do see Mr. Carpenter is in attendance. Mr. Severson is in attendance if you wish to take any comments.
We sure can. If Mr. Severson?
Good morning.
Morning.
I don't have much to say other than I found out that this hearing was going to happen close to last night. Based on what has transpired so far, my only recommendation would be to perhaps table your decision. Seems like we're at a point where it doesn't make sense to deny it. If you granted it, you could also essentially delay the required action on it until you see that it's actually going to be developed, as has been requested in the applications. So I think the reasonable course of action would be to table it, see what happens. There might be other developments in the background, so to speak, where it renders moot this petition. So I respectfully ask for you to table it.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question? Can you just tell me your association with this? And I guess I don't understand that.
Certainly, Mr. Coring. So I'm a real estate attorney in town, and
Okay.
I represent Friends of Crow Wing County Lakes. Basically, it is a nonprofit special interest group that has an aim toward helping Crow Wing County Lakes in their worldview of making sure that there's not overdevelopment or damage to the environment from development.
So they're, Mr. Chair, so they're opposed to this and they've hired you to speak for them?
Correct.
Okay.
And as you've seen from this whole related development, it's not just Friends of Crow Wing County Lakes. The lake associations have been heavily involved. There's a lot of interested parties. I've done this type of work locally for concerned parties, but this particular development has garnered a lot of interest. So that's why I'm involved.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter, would you care to speak, or?
Jethro Carpenter. Nothing too much. I, again, didn't really know too much about the EAW until about a week ago, that there was actually a petition. It seems a little bit like it doesn't make sense considering we signed a letter of intent with the Loon Center to sell the property. Again, it isn't a done deal. It just seems to me that Friends of Crow Wing County Lakes, as many attorneys as they have, they would probably know that, considering we didn't keep it a secret, and they just kind of continue to fight for no particular reason, wasting a lot of your and my time. So we'd like to get this deal done. The EW is pretty irrelevant, considering I don't know exactly. The people that signed the petition for an AEW probably don't even know what it is or any of the questions. It's kind of a buzzword that everybody wants to use to delay stuff. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? So, I remember this gentleman here speaking before several months back, but I just need to refresh my memory. Has anything changed since the last time we heard from this gentleman? Yeah, Jake, has anything changed? Or is this a different proposal? I guess I'm trying to rack my brain, because I remember you speaking before.
Well, Commissioner Coring and members of the board, there was an original application in February in front of the Planning Commission. That got tabled, and then they modified their proposal. But the county board would have been aware of this particular design. That's about the time when this moratorium business got enacted, and so nothing has changed since March.
Okay.
So the quick answer is not since you last saw it, but it's been a while. So since
And
we've
if
all
I
seen it.
recall correctly, you're the gentleman that you build boardwalks, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it's all coming back to me. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair, if I can, I think I would go with Mr. Severson's recommendation is that we table it because, again, we're still in the moratorium period in regards to that, and I don't think taking any action now would be beneficial. And if there is a situation where there's a letter of intent for that property,
Right.
My question would be then, Commissioner, is when would we table it to? Until the moratorium is up, or?
Jake, is there a timeline within which the county board must act on an EAW petition?
It is. Our legal counsel has informed us by November 15th. So tabling this without our legal counsel here to suggest what we would do with a tabled item, in my opinion, is a bit risky.
He is available online. I also know there may be some other folks who wish to speak as well, Mr. Chair, when you get around to it.
My question for that, Mr. Chair, then, is if we do not act on it, does that, I know by state statute on some of this stuff, we've only got like a 60-day window, then what would happen? Does anybody know what would happen if we don't act on that?
Typically, if you don't act within 60 days on a land use matter, it is automatically approved, which would mean in this particular case, if that law applies, that the EAW petition would be approved.
Okay.
So you gotta, if that 60-day rule applies, which I will defer to County Attorney Ryan on, then you could ask the petitioner, which in this case is Mr. Severson, whether or not he would waive the 60-day requirement, and I'm thinking he may have some interest in doing that because he was recommending that you table it. And so if we get clear permission from the applicant to waive the 60-day rule, I think that would allow a tabling if you are so inclined. I don't know if Don wishes to weigh in.
Mr. Chair, could we hear from our?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
there he is.
Oh, there he is.
I'm sorry I'm not there in person today, but since it's an election day, I have to be close to the computers in case an issue comes up. I'm not sure if the 60-day rule applies or not in this particular instance, but I would agree with Tim that if Severson wants to agree for us to table it, there would be no risk to the board. Otherwise, you could just say no, and then they can bring it back at a later time if they want to.
No, can I just Don, can I get a when you say no to the EAW?
You could vote it down, they could bring it back, or you could vote to go forward and then table telling staff not to go forward. I guess I agree with everyone else. It's premature to have the issue before the board, because if the land sells, I'm thinking the need for the EAW, if there is one, and any litigation probably goes away.
Okay, that was
You may wish
clear.
to take additional public comment. I think there are some.
Is there anybody else online that would care to speak?
I mean in the room.
Huh?
In the room, he
Oh.
said.
I'm sorry, I thought you'd mentioned that.
Mitch Brinks, 11914 Jones and Circle Baxter. Just before my comments, I just wanted to I just pulled up Minnesota Rule 4410, and it does say, and I'm certainly not an attorney, so, but 4410.1100 petition process says you can, the time period may be extended by the RGU for an additional 15 days. So that may give you another meeting, but I don't think it's something that could be potentially extended for too long. I mean, in my opinion, having done EAWs and been part of this process, it just puts a hold on everything that can happen. I think it just clouds the water the longer it sits out here, and so I guess I'd encourage you to make a decision today, one way or the other. In my opinion, there really is no need for an EAW. I think the findings that Jake has put together kind of, I'm fully on board with those. Any environmental issues that are out there can be addressed and have been addressed by the Land Services Department. So I guess I don't see the merits. To be honest, there's an exemption in the rule for single projects or small developments like this that basically says you shouldn't do an EAW. And just reading the petition, I was kind of embarrassed actually, and I don't have a horse in this race. I'm not here to support the applicant or anybody, but I was just kind of embarrassed by the language, and it just seemed like a lot of mud was being slung. So I would, I guess, recommend that you deny the petition requiring an EAW, and if there's other environmental questions that you have that aren't being addressed, I'm sure Jake can get those answers for you or the Planning Commission down the road. But just to let this sit out there, again, it just kind of puts a stop to everything, and whether if the property does get sold, I think it would be good to have this closure so everybody can move on. So, thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Just wanted to comment that the petitioner would waive any statutory or rule timelines if it aids your decision. This isn't your typical small project. I would just add, I think the record supports that. There's a lot of environmental issues at stake here. I'm not personally even a big environmentalist, but I can still see why people would be concerned. There's a letter of intent apparently with the Loon Center. There's so much interest in environmental issues that the Loon Center is considering acquiring this land. That should tell the board that there's a lot of issues at stake. So we would waive any timelines and support tabling the decision or granting it.
Mr. Severson, is your client the petitioner?
It is.
The EQB? And you're representing that client?
And as an attorney, I can bind the petitioner.
And so to be clear, if the board is so inclined to table, you are waiving any notice requirement for action?
Any timelines?
Timelines.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jake, yeah, anything to add?
Well, just one more thing. I mean, part of the findings that the county developed was that the EAW process in of itself, given our existing rules, given potential changes to the ordinance to address alternative access lots, things of that nature, we just didn't think the EAW process would result in any new and significant findings that would create more environmental discovery to aid in a decision of this application beyond the potential, the study that we're conducting on alternative access lots, things like that are forthcoming, changes to the ordinance, things like that. So just as you consider a decision on this, if we felt that the EAW process would be valuable in getting information environmentally to help as part of a decision, I think we would have done that. And just to also be clear on the EAW process, it is not a approval for the project, right? Just so we're clear on that. This is only about further study of the project. So that's it.
Thanks, Jake. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I would move the request for board action, the staff recommendation at 6.1 in our packet, that we do not require an EAW on this project.
Motion by Commissioner Coring. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brecken. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I didn't. I believe. All right, thank you. Next up, Tim Bray.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for adding or allowing this item to be added. I received a request from MnDOT last Friday and was informed that they were applying for one of a number of available federal grants to try to get some project development money for this project. So the project I'm talking about, just to back up, is the intersection of 210 and 371. If you recall, last meeting, you authorized and directed me to apply for the Corridors of Commerce funding program, where the solicitation is out. I did that last week. Later in the week, MnDOT contacted me and said, hey, we're also working hard on this project and we're seeking the design, environmental review, public outreach, the dollars for that, $2.5 million. And so they had asked for a letter of support in their efforts to seek competitive grant funds also. And what you see before you, and we've now shared, is a letter that I've drafted for your consideration to send in with the application to the United States Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg, I think that's right, and asking for full consideration of MnDOT's grant application for $2.5 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, I will make the motion to authorize the signing of this letter of support.
Second, I'm always in favor of bringing grant money to Growing County.
Any revisions to the letter? No?
As long as we don't have to beg for it.
We're dealing with
All
the
right.
federal government.
We have a motion by Mr. Barrow, second by Commissioner Franzine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, County Sheriff. He's not online or,
He is not.
huh? Okay, thank you. County Attorney?
I don't have anything for the board today, but I certainly would be willing to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Don?
Nope. Thank you,
Seeing
Don.
none, thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Thanks.
County Administrator?
Mr. Chair, members, we have not held a senior management team since the last board meeting, so I don't have anything to report on that. I do have a request for board action in your packet. It is to authorize us to go out to bids for the contracts for legal services. This is for those who are in cases involving children in need of protection, termination of parental rights, child support contempt cases, commitment cases, including sexually dangerous psychopaths. We have some contractors that represent folks who are indigent in those types of cases, and we are required by law to cover the costs of those services. And presumably it's because these are pretty important things if you're going to terminate someone's parental rights. So they deserve to have quality representation. We bid these contracts out every so often. We have not bid them since 2018, and it just seems time to dip our toe back in that water. I'm not sure that it will necessarily save us funds to do so, but I think trying to make sure that we are staying competitive as we go through time, making sure that we give people opportunity and that we're trying to manage those funds as best we can. I think it's probably time for us to do it.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion.
Please.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to authorize the county administrator to request proposals for contracts for legal services for court-appointed attorney for CHIPS and TPR cases and commitment and child support contempt cases.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Happy to answer any questions about anything related to county government.
Any questions for
Not a,
Administrator?
Mr. Chair, not a question for Tim, but going back to the sheriff's office, Adam, I'm just wondering, you did send out, first of all, I want to say thanks for keeping the board informed in case we hear from our constituents, but you did send out a scam alert that, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, or I can say something, maybe come up here. I think it's good to put this on the record so the public knows that there's always all kinds of scams out there, but you sent out a scam alert to the county board here.
Certainly. Good morning, members of the board. And apologies for last Friday when I initially sent it out. That wasn't the scam. Didn't have the attachment on there. This particular one, we've got a couple of calls last week on where someone from the public will call in and, well, someone actually purchased like iTunes gift cards and was out a certain amount of money. But what happens is the scammer will impersonate a peace officer, use actual name, actual phone number of our office. This has happened a couple times over the course of the last several years. One was a current employee, and one last week was an actual retired employee. It'll say specifically, I'm so-and-so with Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office. You have a warrant for your arrest. You can take care of this warrant by purchasing whatever gift cards and sending them to this address. This is actually happening nationwide. It's not just Crow Wing County. People are doing some research so they can sound pretty legit. Using actual phone numbers and addresses of the agencies and names of people that work there. We, the Sheriff's Office, and pretty much every other law enforcement agency are not going to ask people for funds. You can pay fines at the court administrator's office. You can take care of warrants at the jail. But we will not ask for funds, especially for you to purchase gift cards and send them places. But people prey on those who are vulnerable, and we see it happening every day. This is just one that's popped up a couple times last week that we've seen in the past, so we wanted to make sure people are aware of that. Oh, any other questions?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just to the county administrator, Tim, did we put this on our official Facebook page or our official social media so that
I
we
don't know.
Probably just been posted on the sheriff's office page, and I'll make sure they share it with RC.
Very good.
Okay. It's just too bad that there's just a lot of bad hombres that just want to prey on people, and it's just a sad, sad deal. Go get a job, damn it.
Okay. Any additional business?
I would
Seeing
point
none.
out that Sunday, I think, was National Saxophone Day. So I just want to let Commissioner Barrows know that it was pretty important.
Okay, I would entertain adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Corrigan, second by Commissioner Barrows. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We're adjourned. Before